right, we are streaming. We are live and up and running.
Hello,
Hello. Oh, hi. Who are you?
I am modular.
Oh, that's cool. My name's Waldo, and sometimes we do the news.
We do, but first, I have a
Y-
statement to make.
Yeah, I'm going to put it on. Yeah, go ahead, hit me. You've got a very important statement to make.
So the other day, a friend of mine and I were talking about marinating steak.
Mm-hmm.
He told me,
Very important.
this is verbatim, he uses Worcestershire sauce.
Uh-huh.
That is not how you pronounce the name of this sauce. Let's put it to rest once and for all. This sauce is pronounced Worcestershire.
Mm,
About marinating
I see. Give it to me one more time.
Worcestershire.
Worcester.
No. Watch the playback again.
Worst sister?
Close enough.
You have
Better
the
than
worst
Worcestershire.
You have the worst sister. And I'm I'm willing to try and work with you here. I don't have any severe political disagreements on this subject.
Ah, well, that's
Um,
good. It's not political, it's factual.
okay. Worcester.
Worcestershire.
Worcester. Worst Chester.
Sure.
Where's Chester? I like that. Where's Chester sauce?
Someone's playing Spider-Man in the background there.
Yeah, that's the children's. Um, I tried to get rid of them, but they know our address, and then they just come back.
Ah, yeah, that happens.
Should have taught them to read.
A
It was a
classic mistake.
severe mistake, yeah. Uh, but yeah, some spooter man going on back here. Just have to share this space. Um, what is going? So, did they argue with you? This friend of yours with how to pronounce it and or
No,
no?
no.
You laid down the law and said,
I
all
did.
right, this house done. This is what's gonna be. Get in line. It's a very good call. I like it. I'm fine with this. I'm gonna call it worst Chester sauce because he is the
Okay.
worst Chester. Um, it's one of them English words, you know. No one knows how to
It
say it.
is.
Right. I'm glad you got this off your chest. This is
Thank you. It
good
was
stuff.
necessary.
It wasn't super
And
necessary. I agree.
my our 11 subscribers
Right. Yeah. Today,
will now forever know.
we're having a 10 subscriber super uh, celebration. How do I change the name of the chat because I spelled subscriber wrong? I'm a complete and utter failure.
Nice.
I don't know how to change it though. If I go into the YouTube page here, you should look at it. I subscriber. I put a P in there.
Subscriber. I love it.
Mm-hmm. I can click right here. Ah, haha, I found it. I can change that P to a B, and no one will ever know. Subscriber super celebration. Save. All right, I did it. I am so smart. Highly competent.
Yeah,
I've
10
got
subscribers.
hooray, 10 subscribers. I've got some crafts. I'm gonna make a play button, uh,
Amazing.
and then hang it up over here on the fireplace. I think
Perfect.
because that's what all the cool YouTubers do, right? They put their play button in the background, right?
I think. Maybe.
So I'll do the same. I'll just put my 10 subscriber play button and tape it to the wall back there. Very fun. Um, so, do you want to get started on the news? We got
Yeah, let's do it.
all kinds of fun things to talk about. Let me bring up here and over there. Are the kids loud? Can you hear them in the background?
Only a little bit.
Okay. Hey kids, shut up. Okay. See.
Laying down the
All
law.
right. Yeah, you gotta train them early. They'll run all over you. All right, here we go. Main screen. Maytag calls for a national divorce between liberal and conservative states. Did you see this? This is madness. And this is
I
like the
did.
extra special madness. This isn't like her usual wacky stuff. This is far worse. We need to separate by red states and blue states and shrink the federal government. I, she's almost too dumb for me to like argue with.
It is pretty retarded.
She doesn't know how anything works. She doesn't know how people work. She doesn't know how the government works. She doesn't know what the words she says mean. She's almost like a parrot who doesn't actually know what they're saying. Well, she's not a parrot. She's not parroting people. She's just a fountain of bad ideas. Uh, we need a national divorce. We need to separate by red states and blue states and shrink the federal government. Everyone I talk to says this. Everyone she talks to. When you talk to the wrong people. From the sick and disgusting woke culture issues shoved down our throats to the Democrats' traitorous American last policies, we are done. She has no idea what she's talking about. Uh, what would that even look like? And she doesn't care what it looks like. She doesn't have plans. She doesn't have thoughts. She has rambling nonsense spilling out of her face all day.
Yeah, she's not very smart. I don't like her.
But she's lots of power. Very important, very powerful. She gets to talk to the Speaker of the House on a regular basis. And I suspect that she will be Donald Trump's running mate. Um, if he wins the primary, I don't think he will at this point. He will pick her so that she can get 1,000 hours of free press, just like I'm giving her right now. And the news media will go nuts, pointing out every stupid tweet she's ever had, every dumb idea that she's ever spit out. They'll replay on air for 12 hours a day, nonstop, and then they will win. Maybe. If Trump doesn't win and he goes third party, he will definitely pick her as well. I don't think Ron DeSantis would be dumb enough to pick her, assuming he
No.
wins the primary. Um, honestly, that's what I see right now is DeSantis winning the primary, picking some middle of the road Republican from Ohio or something like that. You know, one of those swing states that goes back and forth. Since he's already Florida and he's going to win that one, they need to bump up Wisconsin or Pennsylvania or something along those lines. He'll pick a middle of the road Republican from them, and Trump runs as a third party with Maytag as his running mate.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
Um, let's see. Then she went on to say if Democrat voters choose to flee these blue states, well, once they move to a red state, guess what? Maybe you don't get to vote for 5 years. So if I moved to Nebraska, she doesn't want me to vote for 5 years. I,
What?
and she doesn't have like a plan for this. She doesn't have a policy that she could put out. She doesn't have a write up of here's how the laws work, here's how they would get passed, here's where they would go, and here's what the stipulations are. Like, making laws isn't just spouting shit and saying whatever the hell you think. There's a process. You have to draw up the things. You have to write them into documents. You have to do all these things. But mm,
So why do blue state people flee to red states or move to red states? I suppose I should say.
if there's a reason for it, I mean, why would anybody move anywhere? The jobs are, you got hired at a job, you move to a different place. Um,
I find that a lot of times the reason people do it is because taxes are really bad in blue states, and
Um,
especially during COVID, there was a lot of leaving blue states because of the lockdowns.
Bad economic policies are one reason people are leaving, according to Forbes here. Blue states. Yeah, that's entirely possible. You don't like the specific laws of the state, and you have the ability to move, which not everybody does. Um,
Yeah, New
but should
York shrank the most, Florida grew the most,
mm-hmm.
and
New York people going to Florida is pretty common.
it is.
It's not. That's not a new thing. Old
No, it's,
people have
that's
been.
because New York has been pretty
Well,
shitty for a while now.
nah. It's old New Yorkers leave New York for the cold stuff like that, and then go live in Florida. That's a it's a common thing that's been happening since the 70s. It's got nothing to do with economics.
I don't know about
But
that. I mean,
well,
you've
it's
got a pension or retirement plan. You don't want to be taxed on it, or you don't want to spend so much money. Florida's a lot cheaper, and you don't have state tax in Florida.
no, that's just what studies find that people have been moving to places with milder winters and more sunshine for decades now. Um, but this is correct. Yeah, lots of people are moving for economic reasons, but are they not allowed to vote anymore?
Well, that's
That's
not.
insane.
I don't think they
I know
should be
you're not saying
not
that.
allowed to vote, but I do find it funny that they'll move to these places with better economic policy and then vote for the same shit that they left.
Uh, are they voting for the same economic policies? Or are they just voting
Well, yeah, I mean
for?
their party doesn't change when they leave. They vote blue,
Mm-hmm.
and the blue people are the ones that made the economic policies that they fled. It's stupid. It's like the definition of insanity. You vote blue people, you get blue policies for 40 years. It fucks up your city, the economics in your state. Then you move to a red state and you vote for blue people again, thinking you get a different result. What are you doing?
But aren't the blue states paying more than their fair share, according to this?
It's because that's where the cities are. I mean,
Right. You know, the people.
but the red states feed the blue states, so
Right. For every dollar each state sends the federal government, here's what it gets in return. Kentucky get far more than they give.
well,
So,
sure. You have what the stock exchange in New York and in Chicago.
mm-hmm.
Uh, you have you have of course Silicon Valley. Um, that's pretty much it. Well,
Okay.
there's a couple other major hubs, but I mean that doesn't
So the
tell
blue
me anything.
states, well, the blue states are where the money is, where the people are, where the profit is being made,
Uh huh.
where the economy is happening. The economy is not happening in Kentucky. It's just not.
Sure. I mean, but these are
Kentucky.
like the millionaires and the billionaires in those states that are doing the doing of things.
Okay.
Like this is tech startups. These are wealthy people that
Mm-hmm.
happen to live in these areas.
Because they don't want to live in Kentucky, and I don't
Well,
blame them.
also because that's where things started. I mean, the New York Stock Exchange has been around for 200 years or however long, 100
Mm-hmm.
years. So
And it
the
is.
fact
So
that
you
it's
say it's the
that
center of the economy.
yeah, I mean, we're not. It just it's not like we're just gonna move that to a red state. If we did, that red state would have a lot more uh, monetary output taxes wise.
Okay.
But it doesn't necessarily. But just because the blue states are making more money doesn't mean that they're a better place to live for the average person. That's why
For the
people
average
are leaving them.
person, it's the average people that are leaving. I agree. But the national divorce would cause all of these red places to be bankrupt, broke, unable to pay themselves, to function without receiving the blue money.
Possibly.
They are not. I mean, looking at this right here, these red states are not fiscally sound. They rely on welfare, and
Hmm.
that would go really badly for them if they separated. They kick and scream, but complain about all these blue states that are actually doing all the work and giving all the money and making all the economy work. Blue
Oh,
makers and red takers. That's what it looks like to me.
sure. I
Which,
mean, that's how you
and
want to look
I'm
at it.
I'm using, uh,
But
uh,
you're looking at tax revenues versus taxes paid, right?
I don't know what I'm looking at.
That's what you are looking at. You're looking at
Federal revenue.
revenues for the federal revenue and the federal spending per
Mm-hmm.
state. So you got federal revenue and federal spending per state.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, the red states are receiving more federal dollars. But again, that says nothing to which states are better to live in for the average people.
What's that called? Life, quality of life.
Quality of life, or maybe spending power, purchasing power
Purchasing
in
power.
each state. I mean, your purchasing power in California is dog shit compared to your purchasing power in Kentucky. You can take a $70,000 pension or $60,000 pension and live in Kentucky just fine, just on that. You definitely can't do that in California.
Right, but that's partly because people don't want to live in Kentucky. Or what? Sorry, I was typing. I wasn't listening to you. Ah, Mississippi's 51 out of 50. Uh, uh, sorry, that was funny. Um, so, ranking states by PCPI adjusted by regional price parity. Per capita personal income. This is personal income.
So it's sorted by the purchasing power of $1. Kind of what I'm going for there.
Okay. So does that suggest that Connecticut, the dollar goes the farthest? Or it's the most
No, no, no.
expensive?
So you got to sort it by the purchasing power of $1 there.
Oh, this one here?
That one, yeah.
Okay.
So this says that Hawaii, your dollar goes the least far, or doesn't nearly go as far.
The most expensive place in the country to live is Hawaii. That
Yes,
makes sense. I've been
and
there. It is
New
expensive.
York, right behind Hawaii.
Okay.
If you scroll all the way down, you'll find the states where your dollar goes the furthest.
Okay. The very bottom, where your dollar goes first, is Mississippi.
Yeah, Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, all red states.
Okay. Is
Things are
that
cheaper there.
things are cheaper there?
There's less taxes there.
Mm-hmm.
Your dollar goes further.
And why is that?
Well, a lot of it's going to be economic policy. Well, some of these states, for example, don't have state tax. That's going to
Mm-hmm.
put a dent in your purchasing power. It's going to put a dent in how far your dollar will go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know for a fact that California has like an 8% sales tax. It's
Right.
ridiculous. And then
But
on top of that, you've got other taxes. You've got California. If you get a plastic bag at a grocery store, they charge you 10 cents for it.
right.
If you what's that?
Right.
Yeah,
They charge
if
8 in
you
my state. Yeah.
if you uh if you buy a pack of monsters, they charge you 10 cents a can or
Mm-hmm.
something ridiculous.
Right. Is that got to do with population as well? I
I
mean,
don't think so.
if the dollar goes so poorly in California, why does it have like the most people?
Climate.
Climate. Okay. So there is reason to be there, even though it costs more money.
Yeah, climate and then the tech jobs that are out here.
Okay.
I mean, the climate out here is pretty nice. It doesn't get too cold in the winter.
Hmm.
It's like the coldest it gets is 30-ish degrees, and then the summer it doesn't get too hot. It usually hangs out in the high 70s, lower 80s,
Okay.
and uh, and it doesn't get humid. It's quite dry, actually.
Okay. So the national divorce, bad idea, right? I think it's a bad
Oh
idea,
yeah, I don't think it's a good idea.
actually. uh, I just think it would go really badly for her and her friends and the people that think she thinks it would go well for. And then, I mean, even if they did it, you know what would happen? Like all their senators would leave, and then the United States would have, and then we'd have 50 to 60 blue senators, and then they would have a supermajority of blue senators, and they pass all the laws that they want. Uh, Economic policies go right through. Environmental policies go right through. Medicare for all goes right through. The Green New Deal gets passed. Uh, Blue Democrat border security gets passed, and then and then they take all the red states back in a horrible civil war. But all the blue stuff would get passed, and then they'd be forced to join us anyway as their economy crumbles. It's not good, but I could see that happening.
I mean, she's just a lunatic.
Okay,
I'm not going to defend anything she says.
okay. All right, we are leaving her behind. Florida takes a swing at reporters, knocks out the First Amendment. Um, so this is about HB 951, explicitly overrules Sullivan, decrying the federalization of defamation law, including the judicially created actual malice standard. This bears no relation to the tax structure or history of the First Amendment. Uh, this means that if I called you a bigot on Twitter, you could sue me. Um, and you don't actually have to have any kind of actual malice or actual malice standard, which changes the law quite a bit. If this bill passes, calling someone out for discrimination based on their religious or scientific beliefs would be defamation per se, costing the speaker at least $35,000 irrespective of actual harm caused. So if I called Donald Trump a bigot and he says I'm scientifically not, I owe him $35,000.
Scroll back up a second.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see. So, allegation of discrimination is defamation if the defendant cannot prove the truth of the allegation. The defendant cannot prove the truth uh, with respect to sexual orientation or gender identity. So basically, if you call somebody a bigot because you think they're discriminating against a group of people,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to prove it.
Or else they're allowed to sue you for damages. So last week we did a whole thing on trans people, and I called the Arkansas legislator a bigot. I did it. Uh, if if this passes in Arkansas and or wherever I'm at, I suppose, um, he could then try to sue me, and I would have to then prove it in a court of law that he's a bigot.
Well,
And
that
if I
Arkansas one I
can't,
think is definitely uh, I think that they were going for the right idea.
Hmm.
Uh, there's just that one part that um, seems a little misguided.
Okay. Um,
But
but
also on the
regardless, that.
topic of that, I went back and looked at that law again.
Hmm.
Um, and there has been an amendment to that law filed. Remember, we had some discussion on
Hmm.
the statute of limitations on that one.
Hmm.
It was reduced to 15 years instead of 30.
Okay.
Um, and aside from that, the that safe harbor clause that includes that one line about no other mental health conditions
Hmm.
includes a few other things. Basically, that the with the two doctors, one being a mental health professional, um, they have to certify a couple of things in writing that like this person is definitely trans and they definitely
Hmm.
would benefit from care on that basis, uh, which are all well and good, I think. And then you have that line, which is just one out of the four parts to the safe harbor clause.
Hmm.
Um, Now, my interest in that one would be, okay, well, what is the legal uh, battle going to be over that when that happens? And B, would it be possible for a doctor's office, for example, to just have an extra waiver saying that like we waive this part of this liability on the basis that this person has ADHD but is also trans. So therefore, we waive the right to sue on the basis that the person had multiple mental health conditions, right?
Hmm.
Um, it would just be another paper that these people have to sign, and I wonder how that would work because Arkansas is a very is well supposedly a very relaxed waiver liability uh, state.
Hmm.
So I have a wonder about whether that will be included, or that would be something that the doctor's offices could do.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. Um, but compared to what I did last week. So last week, I called that guy a bigot. Should he be allowed to sue me? Should he be allowed, by this law that we're looking at right now, allowed to sue me, and I then have to go into a court and identify the plaintiff's scientific beliefs to
Yeah, I
prove that
think
he's a
that
bigot?
scientific beliefs is kind of silly. You don't believe in science, I don't think.
Well,
So
if
I don't agree with the letter of this law.
okay, and if it were put into place, what would come of it? Free speech would be stifled. I would no longer have as much free speech as I had. I had free speech last week. This law would limit it severely. And it's not woke Democrats that are pushing these laws. And this is why I yell about DeSantis and Florida Republicans all the time. This is why I keep coming back to these things because this, I think, Ron DeSantis is severely dangerous. I think he is going to take away people's rights. He's going to take away their rights. He's going to constrain them down and down and down and down until he cannot be criticized. He doesn't want to be criticized. And I recognize that that's what this is if I call Ron DeSantis a fascist, he wants to sue me for it. And then I have to go into it. And then I'm either going into a court and accruing legal fees for doing that, which means I won't do it. And he's trying to make me not say things. He wants me to be afraid of saying them. He wants people to be afraid of saying these words that he doesn't agree with. And that's kind of the opposite of what the First Amendment is for.
Maybe I'd have to actually read the full text of the bill.
Okay, cool. So that is, yeah, that's what I think is coming from these people. Uh, what else we got? We got more Florida stuff, I think. What do we got? The academic freedom in, again, Ron Santis in Florida. Um, Bill 999. Uh, the bill calls for the removal of degrees in gender studies and critical race theory, or any derivative major or minor in these belief systems. Using the word belief wrong. Uh, it, I think it was left intentionally ambiguous. I think that's correct, and this person is assuming that as well. And bars anything else that promotes diversity, equity, and inclusion. The bill also prohibits universities from promoting, supporting, or maintaining any program or campus activities that espouse diversity, equity, and inclusion, or critical race theory rhetoric.
Okay.
He's telling colleges what they can and can't teach. And
Okay.
here's tenure could be reviewed at any time. I'm fine with that. In maybe tenure review is fine with me. I don't think that's a bad thing. But these standards are largely to be overseen by the State Board of Education and Board of Governors, bodies whose members are appointed by the governor. So the governor appoints the people to this board, and the people he appoints to the board then oversee what colleges can and cannot teach. I, this is unbelievably bad.
Okay.
Uh, this is more lack of First Amendment. This is more lack of freedom of speech. And it's not woke Democrats that are running this idea. Um, so let's see. This guy calls Governor DeSantis. This guy's telling us that it's an authoritarian regime. He calls it fascist. But
Of course.
could, I mean, I don't think Ron DeSantis should be able to sue the author who wrote this. But the last bill we talked about would allow him to sue them. And then maybe this reporter wouldn't write that. That's the plan, as I see it.
Maybe. I think that if you could point to the specific parts of the bill that you think are fascist or um what did he call them?
He said
Uh
this guy mentioned authoritarian regime.
uh authoritarian. So if you point to the parts of the bill, like if DeSantis sued this guy and uh this guy could point to the parts of the bill that he thinks are authoritarian, then the court might side with him and he
Yeah,
doesn't get hit for
the
defamation.
the court, run by a judge who's either elected in Florida or uh, appointed by the Florida governor. Because Republicans have been snatching up those judges. They figured this out about 2, 3 decades ago. They were like, hey, judges are the final line. They have a whole lot to say. Let's fill them up. Let's get right wing judges. Let's create an entire organization. What do they call the Federalist Society or something like that, where they just get more judges, get more judges, get more judges.
Well, part of the reason, or one of the things that Republicans have typically gotten judges on, or typically selected judges for, are their First Amendment, Second Amendment, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, views,
Mm-hmm.
which this bill would theoretically run contrary to.
Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of this bill, it might have been a case of shooting themselves in the foot by getting these judges. You're going to get a lot less, I think, out of a constitutionalist judge. You're going to get a lot less mileage out of this bill than an activist judge.
If the judge agrees with DeSantis, he'll let it pass. and say that this is acceptable. If the judge sees this law as acceptable, they'll let it pass. They'll say that this is acceptable.
Well, this is not going to be just some judge. It'll be the state Supreme Court.
Eventually, yes. And if the state Supreme Court has been filled up with people who like Ron DeSantis and appointed by people who appreciate Ron DeSantis, it'll pass.
Okay.
And that's an authoritarian regime. That would be a bad thing. That would severely harm the Americans that are in Florida. And I'd rather they didn't get harmed, even though they're from Florida. And they asked for this, and they voted for it, and they approved it when it happened. I still don't want them to be harmed by it. Um, and next up, Texas bill would ban nearly all gender-affirming care, including for trans adults. See, this is why I mentioned the. This is this is what I was talking about when last week when I was saying that the Republicans have been pushing a lot of these bills. Uh, it's why I called the guy from Arkansas a bigot. Um, I think there was a line in here that I wanted to point out, but I've lost it now. But anyway, a bill introduced in the Texas Senate is triggering alarms among advocates of the state who say it would make nearly all gender-affirming healthcare illegal, including both surgical and non-surgical treatments, even for trans adults. So they're just saying no to all of it. Um, so we got Bill SB 1029, February 17th. Ban public funding for gender modification and treatments, bar some health plans from providing coverage for a gender modification procedure, and increase legal liability through malpractice suits for medical professionals on healthcare providers that offer gender-affirming care. Um, Texas, this is the point. Texas has introduced over 70 anti-LGBTQ bills in the 2023 legislative season so far. It's February, man. They've suggested 70 bills in 2 months because they're obsessed with it. This is what I was talking about last week. They are pushing so many of these things that it can't be an accident. It can't just be, uh, hey, we think that this is what's best. They have a blatant, obvious agenda, and it's anti-trans.
Okay.
Um, and when I said last week that hey, lots of these bills are coming out, and it's to a purpose. This is what I was talking about. That 70 of them. This isn't like hey, we see an issue. They haven't passed 70 laws about anything else. There's not 70 uh, tax bills up for debate. Uh, the let's see. Let's see. Yeah, this is wild. But gender affirming care, I think, is where that this it's a loophole, right? If
Okay.
I got testosterone, it would be gender affirming care, yeah. But they won't make that illegal. That'll be fine. And what they do is they just choose not to enforce the laws. If I got testosterone, it would be gender affirming care. But they just won't bother with that. They'll be like, nah, it's fine because they don't build laws properly. They build laws to hurt the people they don't like and protect the people they do like. And so that's what I'm
Well, they
accused
define
of.
the gender affirming care in the bill, don't they?
I don't
Right.
know.
The next line
The bill
for the purpose of
lists as
transition.
gender affirming procedures. Well, then they've left out the testosterone that I got from a doctor,
Yeah. The quote that's in that same paragraph there.
but only for the purpose of transitioning.
Yeah.
Okay. Or or affirming the patient's perception of the patient's actual. I perceive myself as male. See, it's just a bad law,
Okay.
and not put out in a way to help people. It's intentionally to harm. They're creating harm laws. And I think there's more of it to come. And I think this is the big news. This is the big one. Fox News has been exposed as a dishonest organization terrified of its own audience. Um, because Fox News lied about the company called Dominion, Dominion sued them, and now they all have to go to court, and lots of text messages and stuff like that have been unearthed, and now we get to see what they are, and it's a normal part of the trial that they release these things, and reveals that the network's most senior executives and highest profile hosts chose not to disclose what they believe to be the truth of the election out of fear that the facts would alienate Fox News audience and throw the highly profitable business into ruin. They are lying for money.
So there is a counterclaim by Fox on this,
Mm-hmm.
um, where basically Fox says that they were just covering claims made by Trump and his team about the election fraud.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a newsworthy thing. Is if presidential candidate or the loser of the presidential election makes fraud claims
Mm-hmm.
and has a team that's going crazy about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's newsworthy. I mean,
I
so they
agree.
aired that stuff.
Yeah.
Now, um, what happened here is that Dominion made a lawsuit, and um, this is actually why a lot of these cases get settled out of court
Mm-hmm.
because even if someone doesn't have a case, then the discovery process could be highly damaging to a news outlet.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is why, like, that one kid, that what was his name? Sandman, Nick Sandman, I think,
Mm-hmm.
was the guy that had like that Native American dude came up in his face banging a drum and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
and then all the news outlets picked it up and called him a racist,
Mm-hmm.
and they and he sued all those outlets, and they all settled out of court
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't want to have this happen to them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, so the discovery in this case actually picked up a whole bunch of like text messages and emails
Mm-hmm.
from different hosts who basically had there were some very interesting messages. There was um, Tucker Carlson had some messages um, where he was, I don't know who he was talking to, but he said Sidney Powell's lying. By the way, I caught her. It's insane. Oh, he was writing to Laura Ingraham.
Okay. So the
Yeah, he
news
said, and
reporter
then
who's on TV telling people what is and what isn't real knows that she's lying and doesn't report it.
well, he caught her in a lie in an
Right.
interview.
But he didn't say that on air. He doesn't tell the audience that she's a liar. That's the problem. That's where the issue lies. MSNBC, the super left woke news organization, also covered the things that Sidney Powell said. But after they covered what she said, they told their audience that she's a liar. And the things that she is saying are not true. And that's the big difference between the two right now. Um, yes, you're right. It's newsworthy when the previous president says uh, the votes were stolen. The count was wrong. Everything's a lie. I actually won. This is newsworthy. Great. Cover it. But afterward, you tell the audience the things he's saying are not true. And Fox didn't do that last part. They didn't do that last part because they didn't want to do that last part because the people who are watching it and listening to it want it to be true. They do not want reality. They do not want facts. Fox News viewers do not want reality and facts. They want the cultivated imaginary world that they think is to be presented to them.
And some of them do, I'm sure. I mean, and that's why they moved over to Newsmax anyway.
Right. The Newsmax uh, goes whole hog, goes even farther into horseshit, bullshit, and unreality. And they started picking up Fox's viewers. People were like, Fox isn't telling me what I want to hear. So they go over to Newsmax, and then Fox loses money. This is upsetting them. So they stop reporting the truth. They stop reporting reality. And then at some point, I think they actually mentioned firing the woman who was telling the truth. Uh, let's see. Let's
Yeah,
see.
Fox's counterfiling basically says that, so, yeah, some of the hosts viewed the election fraud claims skeptically and others viewed them hopefully. But all of them thought they were newsworthy, so they covered them. Now, I mean, if you're a host and you're on the right and you hope that uh, the election fraud claims are true, then you might be more agreeable to them. But
J- Jackie Heinrich tweeted a mere fact check of Trump's election lies, so she told the truth. Carlson says please get her fired. Seriously, what the fuck? I'm actually shocked. It needs to stop immediately. Like tonight, it's measurably hurting the company. The stock price is down, no joke. Truth means we lose money. So they're lying for money. And it's literally proven in court that they lie for money. Yet they will continue. Tucker Carlson will continue to be the have millions upon millions of views every single night, literally lying to people. And that's fine. Apparently, we live in the misinformation age. This is just going to keep going on.
so in this case, it's she did a fact check of a Trump tweet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this was not good for Fox because their viewers don't want to watch Trump fact checks. I mean, I get it, right? Like that's gonna hurt your viewership if you do that.
Right.
So
Maybe
Carlson
news. Yeah.
and just that on its own uh wouldn't have gotten this kind of a reaction, I don't think. And you see it down right there below is Hannity says on 3 strikes, all this shit debate, election night a disaster. Now this. Uh, did I mention Cavuto?
Cavuto was telling truth, and they don't like it. Um,
Well, it was Heinrich
I know, but
that these
he's
texts were
changing the
about.
subject. But yes, Heinrich said true things. The Donald Trump said a lie. Jackie Heinrich said, "Hey, here's what the truth is," and they want her fired for it because the truth hurts their bottom line. News organizations shouldn't be run for profit. They didn't used to be. It was a long time ago, but uh, they weren't a profitable thing. If news is expected to turn a profit, this is what will happen. And I'm accepting that it would happen on the left too. It just hasn't right now. If it is more profitable to tell your audience what they want to hear rather than what is real and true, then they'll do it too. This right here, this story is why I make that stupid joke about reality having a liberal bias all the time. That's why I make that joke.
I think this story is maybe played up a little bit,
How do you
but
figure? It's not.
Well,
It's not
you have a
important.
whole you got some selective leakage, I guess I'll say, from the discovery process that's taking place here. Um, and then like these are the quotes that Dominion has picked from the selection process in order to put into their filing against Fox News.
Sure, to prove their point.
So how many other quotes are there that would go against this narrative that weren't part of that filing, right? How like
You think there
uh
are opposite direction tweets like Carlson and Hannity uh, texting each
well,
other about?
there's at
I
least
mean,
one here
okay.
where Carlson actually confronted City Powell,
Hmm.
and he says that if you don't have conclusive evidence of fraud at the scale you're claiming, uh, it's cruel and reckless to continue to say them.
Hmm.
Uh, Basically saying if you don't have proof, then shut the fuck up.
And did he say that on the air, or did he just text that to her?
He it was to her. It was between the two of them.
Okay.
But
And
I mean,
if Dominion can find a clip of him appreciating her after that text was sent, I mean, doesn't it prove their point? Dominion is saying, "Hey, you lie for money," and I'm saying they lie for money, and the texts are suggesting it. And you're right that if Carlson sent that text to her, but then afterward continued to promote her, then he's lying for money.
that's possible.
If he proves in court that he sent that text, and then after that, we'll have a date and a time on it, and after that, he does not show her on his show, or he questions her or doubts her veracity, her sincerity, and her proof. After that point, then he's being a journalist. That sounds fine. But they would have to prove that in the court as well. So I mean, this is bad for Fox News, which is good for America.
Maybe I don't watch them, so I don't know.
I know, and that's fine. It's just like this is the thing that has been people have been saying for a very long time. This is not a new accusation that Fox News literally lies for money, but we now get to see it in court. And what happens? They lose 1.6 billion dollars and then continue on like they always have. That's what I think happens. Nothing much else. What do we got? We got chat chiming in. Thanks, guys. I'd have to find it, but I'm sure I heard other news organizations say they felt pressured to do what Fox was doing. It looks like liberal news has been degrading due to Fox's behavior. Okay, good comment. Thank you. The redacted parts are worse, I'm sure. Okay, interesting. Uh, so yeah, that's all the news stuff that I brought up. There was a little bit about Section 230, but it looks like it's gonna stay up. It's gonna be fine. Section 230. Let's see. Supreme Court justices in Google case expressed hesitation about upending Section 230. So we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Um, it seems like they don't want to upend Section 230. Supreme Court justices voiced hesitation in upending the key legal shield that protects the tech industry from liability for their users' posts during arguments in Gonzalez versus Google on Tuesday. So this is what you and I talked about last week, where the Gonzalez family is suing Google for the algorithm showing people uh, extremist terrorist ideologies and then becoming extremist terrorist ideologues. and then killing
Right.
their daughter. So, um, justice across the uh, justices across the ideological spectrum expressed concern with breaking the delicate balance set by Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act in their ruling on the case. On Wednesday, the justices will hear arguments in Twitter versus Tamesh, a similar case with different legal question. So it looks like it's not going to change the internet. So that's a thing that I think is good.
Yeah, I mean, all I want is for the language in Section 230 to be made more clear,
Okay.
because I think both sides of the aisle agree that it's too vague.
Okay. Uh, yeah. So it seems the Supreme Court is not going to change anything on that or strike it down or anything like that. So that's a good thing for the internet, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I'd rather have 230 the way it is than no 230.
Okay. Cool. I agree.
Um, I just, like I said, I want 230 to be more clear about
Okay.
what it's protecting and what it's not.
Okay. What type of language would you expect?
I'm not really sure. Um, Maybe more clear definitions on what constitutes a platform or a um, publisher, for example, like a little more of a strict definition.
Mm-hmm. Killer Mac in chat says it's vague because Section 230 is the corpse of the Communications Decency Act. Communications Decency Act. I remember that one. That wasn't the Fairness Act, right? Anyway,
No, that
Section
was not the Fairness
230
Act.
is the 26 words that weren't struck down from the act. Let's look those up. The 26 words that created the internet. No provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. I like those words. What do you think of those words?
I feel like there's a little more to it than that. The more to it is in the definition there um, of publisher and provider there, or content provider, which is what I mean when I say platform.
Mm-hmm.
But this
Uh,
is old stuff at this point. We need an update to this legislation.
what would you want the update to accomplish? Like, um, I'm asking because I'm curious. I don't know. I'm not leading you anywhere. I just don't know what type of update you would want.
It would be uh, probably a little complicated. Maybe you could say that there's rules around. You could establish certain rules for what are bannable offenses, for example, um, or you could establish rules for content moderation to where you step over these lines and now you're publishing because you're curating content, right?
Okay, and you want that done
Something
by
like that.
law or by because I don't know if I would want it done by law. I would want it done by each provider or each platform. I would accept the idea that Twitter ought to be different than 4chan.
Well, yes,
Right. So uh, they're, they are two different platforms. They are doing different things, and they ought to be different, treated differently, and they have different expectations of what people do on their platform. Facebook should be different than uh, what's that other one that everybody's using, Parlor or whatever that they're using now.
let's see.
Isn't that the one Kanye bought? Didn't he buy Parlor?
Oh yeah.
You know, I accept the idea that Kanye buys Parler and puts a TOS on there that is much different than regular Facebook.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, even the social media companies think that 230 needs to be updated in some ways.
Okay.
Mark Zuckerberg told Congress it might make sense for there to be liability for some content, uh, and that Facebook would benefit from clearer guidance from elected officials. Uh, Biden has said that 230 should be revoked, and so is Lindsey Graham.
They're coming at it from different angles, though. Lindsey Graham wants it revoked so that he can say whatever he wants on Twitter, but Biden wants it revoked and probably replaced with something similar to what you're describing. Maybe. I don't know what. I don't trust either one of them to decide what does and doesn't go on the internet. They're both too old and dumb to comprehend it.
Maybe.
I can say with certainty I do not want Joe Biden making rules for the internet. I'll vote for him again, but I do not want him making rules for the internet.
So here's one change that's been proposed. It would be no provider or user of an interactive computer service that takes reasonable steps to address known unlawful uses of its services that create serious harm to others shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider in any action arising out of the publication of content provided by that information content provider.
Do you think that changes anything?
I think it does.
Because it's shockingly similar to the 26 words I have on the screen right now. But
Well, it's
how
the
does
26 words
the
that are on your screen, but it's
with
with some clarification for what it is that distinguishes between the publisher and the platform.
well, it just says that takes reasonable steps, right?
Right. So then, of course, you've got to find what reasonable steps are.
And I think that is the foot in the door for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of lawsuits. Right now, the 26 words as they are right now, no provider or user shall. It has no's, it has shalls. But your words that you read have reasonable accommodations. Right? Read it to me again, or post it. What? Okay. What was the reasonable accommodations or something like that that it mentioned?
Let me find it again.
Killer Mac in chat says the thing here, in my opinion, is that the courts interpret laws. I think other than striking Section 230 down or keeping it, the court doesn't have much to work with. Congress needs to propose bills.
Oh, I totally agree.
Yeah,
I mean,
makes sense.
we
If
had that
if if it's going to change, it ought to be a legislative change rather than a judicial change. Yes.
we had that argument a couple of weeks ago about legislation and legislating from the bench.
Right.
Uh, where was it? No provider or user of an interactive computer service that takes reasonable steps to address known unlawful uses of its services that create serious harm to others shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider in any action arising out of the publication of content provided by that information content provider.
Hmm. It changes the word shall to that takes reasonable steps. And I think that takes reasonable steps is the foot in the door for lots of lawsuits. Someone will sue YouTube and say they did not take reasonable steps. And then you will have to prove in court what a reasonable step is. That thing you just read me seems more vague than this. It seems less obvious than this.
Let's see. There are also some that aim at political censorship. So
Mm-hmm.
that those are usually from the right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got um, changes to scope. There's actually a pretty large list here of different proposals that
Okay.
I'll send to you. We can talk about next week.
Yeah. What we'll do is I can look over a few of them and we can see if there's any legislation that we could look at and pick apart, things like that.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. So that is all of that. Anything else on Section 230?
that's it.
Cool. Um, Benjamin Franklin. I had a hot take last week.
What was the hot take again?
The hot take was fuck Ben Franklin.
Oh,
It was very
all right.
it was a very hot take. um, and it was about the uh, safety and liberty. The safety and liberty quote. Um, Benjamin Franklin once said, "Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty or safety." And
Uh-huh.
and I, t- and I think the important part here are the uh, adjectives. I think that's what that is. Essential and temporary.
Okay. And what is their quibble with this again?
Oh, I said fuck Ben Franklin. You can have both. You can have both, but essential and the more I looked at it and thought about it, the essential you don't want to give up for something temporary, and I agree with him now.
Ah, all right.
Um,
So not fuck Ben Franklin. That's what you're saying.
well, not yet. This is a slippery slope, but I missed the adjectives here: the essential and the temporary. Giving up a essential liberty for a temporary safety is a bad idea. It's a bad choice. It's a bad trade-off. Giving up something important for something temporary is not good. So uh, I won't say fuck Ben Franklin today. He's okay.
All right.
But I got my eye on you,
Old man.
oh Ben Franklin. I'm looking at you, and then I got a bunch of his other quotes, and most of them I'm okay with. Um, they seem fine and not bad.
Yeah, and a lot of them have sort of been, I think, taken out of their original context or
Mm-hmm.
uh, maybe lost their meaning in, the 250 years since he said them.
Mm-hmm.
But they're generally okay.
Okay, cool. Um, well, that's all for the news. You see any good movies lately?
I see any good movies lately? Um, Not really. I
I
have
think I
to say,
watched.
with Hollywood not being so great lately, I haven't been to the theater
Yeah, I haven't been to a
too
theater in a
often.
while. Yeah,
Yeah,
mostly it's I mean, I already have the HBO app and the Disney app, so anything that I want to watch just comes on those.
I heard the Ant-Man movie was terrible.
Yeah, it's looking at 48 and 84. Again, here we go.
Wow. Hey, I'm on the left side this time
You're
with the
on
critics.
you're on the critic side this time, but I haven't seen it yet, so I'm not entirely sure. No spoilers for the Ant-Man movie, but no, I have not seen it yet.
Yeah, I've seen reviews of it.
I didn't like the
I
last
don't
one that
I don't
much.
think I care to actually watch it.
I mean, I'm not going to go to the theater and watch it. I'm going to wait until it shows up. My tech support is here. Okay, I'm going to use the force to get rid of you. Okay, great. Thank you. My tech support is being crazy today.
playing Star Wars over there.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I hadn't seen it yet. Let me see.
Well, when you do see it, you'll have to tell me if you're on the right of or the left of it, and
Well, I'm
why.
almost always on the critic side because I'm not. I am a critic. Yeah, that's true. I look at things and I tear them apart and then I piece them back together and I analyze them and I recognize story structure and things like that. So I'm on the critic side most of the time. The audience score, I would just say, is someone who watches a thing for enjoyment, where the critic is the person who is going to analyze it, tear it apart, look at the pieces, put it back together, and see if it fits. You know? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
hmm Oh, I did. Speaking of something that Ant-Man reminds me of would be I did watch The Boys recently.
Okay, and you hadn't seen it before?
Yeah, yeah, I hadn't seen it before. I thought season one was pretty good. Season two was all right, and I did not really appreciate season three nearly as much.
Uh,
But
I could see that.
the Ant-Man thing reminded me of The Boys because there was a scene in I think the second season where they're going after this guy that's able to shrink himself just like Ant-Man,
Yeah.
and and the guy tries to crawl up one of the other guys' ass to expand.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
That got a chuckle out of me from all those memes back in the day.
yeah, it was a big thing back at. We were all the internet was nuts about it.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, but everybody kind of agrees.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Just I thought season three got a little bit wacky and crazy for me. You know, with the temporary stuff and
Yeah,
yeah.
I can see that. I didn't love the idea of the temporary stuff, but if you suggest
And the
that it's
whole like
a chemical
soldier
thing
boy,
to begin with, yeah,
yeah, that soldier boy narrative. I don't know about that.
I could see that. Um, what do you suggest I watch? What do I suggest you watch?
Oh God. Um, have I actually watched anything worthwhile lately? I haven't. Other than the boys.
Okay, okay. Um,
I'll come up with a good recommendation for you
okay, okay.
next week.
I've been watching The Last of Us, but everybody's watching that, and it's fine. Uh,
I haven't picked it up yet.
uh,
I think
it's
I saw
very
the first
good.
episode and I
Yeah,
was okay with it.
everybody likes it. It's very good.
Well, I should hope that everybody likes it. It's a beloved video game.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
the
bel- beloved video games don't make good movies.
yeah, but it was a video game movie. Like it was that's what the game was like an interactive movie.
It was a movie. Yes, I agree. It
Yeah.
was
So I think it
only
translates
half
very
video
well.
game and half cinematic. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it translates really well to the screen.
Hmm.
So I'll watch it when the whole thing is out and I can just sit down for a day and watch the whole thing.
There's about 6 hours of it so far. So
Nice. Is it an eight episode season?
I don't know how many there's going to be, but it's probably something similar to eight, 9 episodes. It says right here, 9. So we're on number 6, 7, 8, 9. We got 3 more. I don't know if they're going to finish the whole first game story. Killer Mike in chat says the best thing to come out in a long time. They seem to be maintaining their momentum. Big hopes it doesn't pull a GOT. I agree.
Well, I got bad news for you. Uh, if season one is the first game, season two will probably be the second game. That's gonna Game of Thrones you, unfortunately.
You think so? I thought
Oh
the
yeah,
second game was fine.
I hated the second game
Why did you hate the second game?
because of what they do to the main character in the first 5 minutes.
Oh,
I
okay.
just couldn't get over it at that point. I hated the game like from the
Uh,
beginning because of what they do to him.
okay.
Without spoilers,
We're not gonna
uh,
spoil it, but I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. Um, I
You
watched
played the second
somebody.
game, yes?
I didn't play it. I watched the playthroughs and I got the story uh, from live streamers and stuff. So I don't know what you're talking about, but I thought I knew the story. But apparently there's something within the first 5 minutes that I don't know about. But we're not going to spoil it here.
Yeah, look into what happens in the first couple minutes of the second game.
Okay.
I was not happy, and then the person that does the bad thing that I don't like, they make me play as her.
Oh, I knew that.
I hated that.
I thought that was fantastic. Okay, maybe I
No,
know what you're talking. Maybe I know what you're talking about and loved it and thought it was great, and then the fact that you don't like it befuddles me in such a way that I can't even comprehend.
and then I have the chance, and then I have to play as that character
Uh huh.
and beat the shit out of another character that I actually like as that character.
Uh huh.
No,
Well, how
I
is?
did not like that.
No, it's fantastic.
You know what I did is I made myself die many, many times just to watch that character die
Uh huh.
during that scene.
Right. That's that's storytelling, man. That's uh that's good storytelling right there. Are you aware of Final Fantasy VI?
I am aware of its existence.
Okay. Have you ever played it?
No.
The intro is amazing, and it makes you do a thing that you don't want to do. We're gonna skip over to here. You've got uh, a character who is being mind controlled, and you don't want to do it, but you have to continue playing the game. You have to go murder a bunch of civilians. You can see it coming too. They're in their standing walking battle tanks. They're going to this city over here, and they're going to wreck shit. They're going to kill a bunch of civilians. You don't want to do that, but you have to, or else you can't play the game. I think this is a good thing. I think forcing people into other people's points of view is interesting. What was that Call of Duty game that did it? That got into trouble?
Well, when they force you into the other point of view, the idea is to make them sympathetic, and they totally fail at that too.
No, you don't have to make them sympathetic. You can make them bad. Yeah, it was no Russian, right? Modern Warfare 2. They force you to play as the bad guy and shoot up civilians. That you don't have to make them sympathetic. I recognize the idea of the sympathetic villain who is doing bad things for good reasons. For in their opinion, they're doing bad things for good reasons. But yeah, you don't have to.
Well, I mean, the in a story like that, the point is to make the point of view character relatable.
Ah,
Like,
no, no.
and
Make the point of
well,
view
okay,
character a
if
monster.
that's not
I'm
the
on
point,
board.
then okay. Except for that, that was the point in this scenario.
Okay, I will re-examine it, and
You're supposed to see what got her to the point where
yeah,
she
and we
does
saw
bad
it,
thing,
and she
and you
does the bad
saw it, and
things.
then you're like, you're just a bad person. Like,
Right, right. The end. There you go. That's the story.
but then even the attempts to make it relatable, like in the first scene with this person, their dad is a scientist,
Mm-hmm.
and they help a zebra that has managed to
Mm-hmm.
get trapped in barbed wire. Like, how contrived does it get? You know, I mean, give me a break. How did a zebra get into the United States anyway?
Okay.
Like,
Well, the state or alienation is the state or experience of having being isolated from a group or an activity to which one should belong or in which one should be involved. You, they're trying to make you feel alienated when you did that part that you didn't like, and you felt alienated, didn't you? You felt a loss. You felt a lack. You didn't feel good about what was happening. And
that's not
art,
the point of a game,
art,
though.
art makes
You're
you feel
supposed to feel
things.
good.
Art makes you feel things. Most of the time, video games make you feel good, but actual true art makes you feel things. And sometimes they ought to make you feel alienation.
Anyways, I hated it.
Okay. That's fine. If you felt bad and didn't like what it was giving to you and you didn't like it, that's fine. That is an acceptable response. That is an acceptable feeling and opinion to have. And I liked it because it pushed that alienation on you. It pushed that uncomfortable, that unhappiness, that thing that you don't want onto you. Because I want my media to make me feel things. I have no other human feelings except for what media gives me.
I don't know. Maybe watching it as a movie or not personally playing the game feels different
Perhaps, yeah, you could be watching a bad thing happen, a thing that you don't want to happen, and appreciate it as a movie. But
versus being forced to do it.
pressing the thumbsticks to do
Yeah,
a thing that you don't want to do is
exactly.
different. Okay, I can see that. Is there a video game version of Rotten Tomatoes?
Oh, I'm sure there is.
I just don't know what it is. I've never heard of it.
Let's see.
Metacritic game.
Yeah,
We talked a little bit about video games last time, but my favorite is 6. And you mentioned that your favorite was 10.
yep.
Have you ever played 6?
I've not.
Okay. I think that you would appreciate it. Um, it's got a very high score, 91 on the Metascore.
Or maybe I have picked it up at one point, but it would be. I don't
Yeah,
think I would have finished it.
it was a SNES game, so it was a really long time ago.
Oh yeah, but I have emulators.
Well, I wouldn't even suggest the emulators. I would suggest the Steam
Hmm.
version that came out not too long ago, um, because this is almost like a rabbit hole you get to dive down into with the poor translations that were done back in the 90s, and then the retranslations done on GBA, and then the mobile versions, the PS1 version, and then they add things and they take things away, and then uh, I think the Pixel remaster that's on Steam right now is the best version
Okay.
because you get all the good, really good music because they
How
redid
is
all the
it
music.
compared to like Chrono Trigger? Because I played that one.
Um, it has way more characters.
Okay.
Is it better than Chrono Trigger? Probably not. Uh, but it is different enough that you can appreciate the downer of a story. And I compared it to The Last of Us because in the very beginning, that uh, intro, like you play as a soldier who's been mind controlled and forced to go on murderous missions that they don't want to. I think it fits into
Well,
that
there's well,
discussion that we were having.
again, that's more of a sympathetic character though, right? The
Yeah,
soldier's been mind controlled. Like,
and afterwards she gets better and doesn't want to do that and tries to become a better person. Yes.
right. So
Uh,
the person you're playing as is actually a good person.
Killer Mac says the same director worked on Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI. So if
Oh,
you enjoyed
nice.
Chrono Trigger, it has the same director.
Well, there we go. I'll give it a
And
shot.
yeah, I would. Hell, I'd watch you play that game. I love it so much.
All right.
um, but I know you. I think we're out of stuff to talk about. Do you have anything else to bring up this week?
No, that's it.
Okay. Well, I think that's it for the stream this week. I appreciate all the chatters coming in, uh, talking and making us like a real stream. Um, As always, I appreciate you coming on and talking with me. We, I think we're doing a good thing here,
Yep, coming together.
and yeah, and I know you have someplace to be this afternoon, and I'm gonna go eat a lunch. So, if you're watching, please like, subscribe, leave comments, tell me where I'm wrong, tell me where modular is right, tell me where modular is wrong, and we're both wrong, and how terrible we are, and suggestions, and I have the email address in the doobly doo down there, so you can tell us what to talk about, what to do, make suggestions. I'm gonna do some artwork, I think, and put like a startup screen and all that fun stuff the real streamers do. Um, and that's it.
All right.
I appreciate it.